One time 3 years ago, I had a creepy experience at the movie theater. My boyfriend at the time and I would go to the movies fairly often as a date night. This specific night, we had made the hour drive out to where he lived to go to dinner and a movie. It was a Thursday night, and due to both of us having to work earlier that day, dinner ended up being later, and the movie we had picked to go see was being shown at 10:45 p.m. We got our popcorn and got to our seats right as the previews were wrapping up. I don't know if it was just because the movie showing was late at night or because it was a less popular romantic movie, but when we arrived, the theater was completely empty and we had it to ourselves. The movie got going and was about halfway through when we noticed a middle-aged man emerge from the hallway into the theater. I watched as he stood by the steps for a couple moments, glancing around the theater, before moving his way in and sitting in one of the lower rows, a good way in front of us. I immediately got a bad vibe from this man, as he kept going on his phone and looking back behind him up towards us every so often. He seemingly had no intention of or interest in watching the movie. The man had been sitting there for only about 20 minutes when he got up from his seat and began walking up the stairs towards our row. My boyfriend and I were instantly on edge, watching to see what on earth he was doing. He walked up the steps very slowly, pausing at the end of our row, and then continued walking up, sitting in a seat 2 rows behind us, off to the side a little bit. For the next half hour, we didn't really have a good time. We sort of half-heartedly watched the movie, while also taking peeks over our shoulder to look at the man behind us, and he would glance away and pretend to be watching the movie as if he wasn't just staring at us. At this point, I also had to pee very badly. I didn't want to leave my boyfriend alone with the guy in the theater, but he urged me to go ahead and it would be okay. He'd watch out for the suspicious man. I walked down and out of the theater, heading to the nearest bathroom. As I reached the bathroom, I turned the corner to go inside and peeked behind me down the hallway as I did. I was shocked to see the man from the theater speed walking towards me down the hallway, and I saw him proceed to start jogging a bit as I rounded the corner. Very scared, I quickly decided not to enter the bathroom, and I walked quickly back out into the hallway, away from the man, who slowed down to a speed walk again as soon as I came back into view in the hallway. I also saw my boyfriend sprinting down the hallway behind the man. He had seen the man follow me out of the theater and decided that he was also going to exit the theater to make sure that I was safe. The man had closed the distance towards me, but heard the pounding of my boyfriend's feet hitting the floor while he ran and began to run. He wasn't going towards me anymore, but was heading towards the exit. My boyfriend told me that he had intended to tackle him if he would have got close enough, but the man escaped out the exit door before my boyfriend caught up to him. We opted not to chase him outside into the darkness of the night, but instead notified one of the workers there at the time about the man and his behavior. My boyfriend and I ended up not going back into that movie theater for a little bit, and we ended up breaking up anyway, so I don't have to ever worry about being back in the theater again. It was by far the scariest moment of my life, and I have no idea if that movie theater has had any more problems with the man. When I was in high school, I worked at a movie theater by my house for a couple of years. Oftentimes on weekends or during the summer, I would have to work a night shift. These late night shifts would include selling tickets and food at the front counter until the last movie wrapped up, usually a bit after midnight. The theater I worked at was a small one with only 4 separate theaters. My job at the end of the night would entail doing a quick sweep of the 4 theaters, then cleaning up the kitchen food area and taking out the trash. Because of how small the theater was, I worked these late night shifts by myself, and it would take me around an hour after the last movie ended. Since then, I take the lead to clean everything up and head home. The summer of my junior year of high school, I was working one of these late night shifts on a stormy night. The last movie had ended, and I made my usual announcement over the speakers that all of the movies had ended. The theater was now closing and to please exit the building. I locked the doors and began sweeping out the theaters. I had reached the second one when suddenly the PO